Dakota, Pam Moore, along with Christy Thomas-Scuddy, Anna Shervin getting ready. Can they pull off the upset taking on this stacked South Carolina team?
They were good a year ago, and they've only gotten better through the transfer portal. The number one transfer in the country in Carmela Cardoza, and then the number one recruiting class. Don Stanley's biggest problem right now is who to play and when, because this team is so loaded. And then on the flip side, you got a South Dakota team led by the big three in Shervin, Lamb, and Court Gable. These three young ladies need to come up big, but more importantly, Shervin needs to stay on the floor, and they've got to get supporting help from the rest of the team.
This is the third straight year that these two programs have met each other. South Carolina won the last two. They won by 10 last year, but that game was tied at the half before South Carolina put on some big-time pressure in the third quarter and eventually won. And a couple years ago, they also were victors by 13. And we talked to South Dakota coach. We have the two Dons, Don Staley, Don Putzlewet. Coach P for the Coyotes said that they can play like 3 good quarters against South Carolina, but we all know you need 4 good quarters to play a team of this caliber. South Carolina in their road garnet.
And you're seeing a gap pack line defense by the Coyotes. They want to try to prevent the ball from getting in the paint, which is tough with Zia Cook on the floor. So explosive off the bounce.
Zia Cook, such a dynamic player, the junior from Toledo, and the foul has been called against the Coyotes. They are coming in off a heartbreaking loss on Tuesday to Oklahoma.
They played a great game against Oklahoma, had great shots. And Coach Pete told us 73 of our 75 shots were quality shots. They just were not able to knock it down. And so tonight, they're going to have to make some buckets. Yes, to stay in the game, but most importantly, to keep South Carolina from running in transition.
I just mentioned Shervin, good defense that time on the all-everything, Aaliyah Boston, who is National Freshman of the Year, was the first-team All-American last year, and is on every single list for National Player of the Year this season. As you take a look at the starting 5, you mentioned Cook, Henderson, Saxton, and Beal leading it off, but boy, they have got the deepest bench that I've ever seen as far as quality depth.
And Don Staley said it has made us better because of the daily competition. No player wants to be out of practice, and Destiny Henderson is picked up where she left off last year. I think she just likes playing in Sioux Falls first and foremost.
That's right. She was the MVP of what was the Bad Boy Mowers Crossover Classic last year. Averaged 21 points a game when they played in South Dakota last year. And there is your starting 5 for the Coyotes. Corn Gable, Lamb, Shervin, all coming back, taking advantage of the extra year because of COVID. And the charge drawn by one of the other starters, Kyle Watson.
A huge play by the Coyotes. They have got to be solid in their transition defense. They're sending basically 2.5 back every time to try to slow down South Carolina here this evening.
It's Watson with the ball in her hands, gets it to Shervin, redshirt senior from Rogers, Minnesota.
And Pam, you're going to see a motion offense out of the Coyotes. And Kroll is huge, not just because she's a point guard, but she's got to be able to knock down some of those buckets. Had a really tough game against Oklahoma. Good looks, but just couldn't finish at the rim.
Missed her first 11 shots, ended up 1 for 13. That time Shervin could not stop Boston.
Well, everyone knows Aaliyah Boston, and what's scary is she's even better already. I mean, yes, it's early in the season. She's leaner, she's more fit, but you're seeing vocal and how she can continuously impact both ends of the floor.
Coming off a big win against NC State. They led from start to finish in that game, a big debut on ESPN. Boston only scored 8 points, but still affected the game in other ways. 6 rebounds and 5 blocks. Cook will fade away, got the roll.
You know, I equate South Carolina to where these starters come in and just body jabs to the opponent, and then Don Stanley can bring the crew off the bench, and they're just going for the knockout. That's how deep and talented this crew is this season.
And with that much depth too, you can pretty much put your pedal to the metal and just go full speed. Aaliyah Boston doing Aaliyah Boston things.
Well, this is, again, the footwork to be this big, feels the defense, and just uses the defense's body against her because she feels drop step, spin, great touch at the rim.
The defense out there by Henderson. Here's Lamb, one of the big three. Had 18 points against Oklahoma. That one's a little bit wide left and then skips over to the South Carolina bench. Ball goes over to the Gamecocks. Don Staley, what more can you say? Come on. 14th season at South Carolina, won a national championship in 2017. Signed a nice new contract extension.
An Olympic coach.
Got herself a gold medal. Well, coaches don't get medals, but led the team to the gold in Tokyo.
Hey, I'm giving it to her.
Yeah,
you
she deserves
coach
it.
a team like that. And she said the pressure to win a gold medal is greater than anything on a daily basis because you lose, you're out.
Yeah.
And so she was saying, hey, coaching this team, it's so much easier than what you went through.
So 10 straight 20-win seasons. 3 Final Fours. Heartbreaking loss last year. Oh my goodness, in the Final Four.
But Pam, I think those kind of events solidify a team. It gives them a great cause. Yes, South Carolina wants to win a championship every year, but I think what this team probably understands now is that margin of error, how every possession matters. And what I've been most impressed with is their defense is so much better at game 2 than it was a year ago.
Saxton that time with the block. Henderson able to float a little bit too strongly. Saxton could not hang on to it. South Carolina losing in the Final Four by 1 point to Stanford. And talk about talent. Here comes the freshman of the year from the ACC, Camila Cardozo, the sophomore from Brazil, one of the 11 transfers from Syracuse, number 10. And my goodness, you just go, you take out somebody like Boston and bring in her. It almost doesn't seem fair. South Dakota still looking for its first points.
You know, I asked Coach P, we got to yesterday, like, are you worried about shooting so many threes, giving South Carolina the opportunity to get out and run? She said, no, we're going to beat us. We have to take those shots. And so far, transition defense has not hurt the Coyotes. It's their inability to convert on the offensive end.
They missed all 6 of their shots. Don Plitzowite now in her 6th year, 3-time Summit League Coach of the Year, has taken her team to 3 straight NCAA tournaments. And between South Dakota and South Dakota State, the Summit has become really a 2-bid conference. Getting at-larges when the other one doesn't win the tournament because they are both so good. The huge rivalry between the Jackrabbits and the Yotes, the Coyotes. We're in Sioux Falls, which is almost dead in the middle between Brookings, which is north of here where South Dakota State plays, and Vermillion, which is about 50 miles south of us where South Dakota is. I-29, you take that all the way up.
You've enjoyed your time in South Dakota.
That's been my first trip. I have learned what wind chill means since I came here.
I have learned 80 miles an hour speed limit.
Yeah, legal
Speed limits. Which, when I saw people get tickets, I'm like, how fast are you going to get a ticket here?
Triple digits. Raven Johnson, number 25 in for South Carolina. Going to see a lot of subs come in for the Gamecocks. Me here, the Canadian gets fouled. I'm here as somebody who has improved on her game. Let's take a timeout. 6-love, South Carolina.
Fresh flavors, classic dishes, and a new seat at the table.
With 26 flavors, got a sauce for every squad. Don't drip on the drip. It's the greatest of all times. Buffalo Wild Wings.
Let's take you back to the Final Four. Stanford with a 1-point lead over South Carolina. They force the turnover. Bree Beal with the first opportunity for the win, and now Aaliyah Boston just hit the back rim. Stanford survives where they went on to beat Arizona by 2 in the championship in a heartbreaking moment. Boy, that's tough to watch.
Well, I'll say this much. As a coach, all you ask is your player get an attempt. And South Carolina had 2 great looks, just couldn't get to go down. But Pam, I'm a big believer. Sometimes your team just needs something to stick in their craw, something that motivates them when times are hard, when you can just dig down deeper. And I'll say this again, this South Carolina team, game 2, or I should say game 1 compared to game 1 a year ago defensively, night and day difference. Night and day difference. And so that's where, again, to all the future opponents, and there's some good ones on this schedule, South Carolina, you've got to have your P's and Q's tight when you're going to play the Gamecocks.
Earlier tonight, we had Louisville losing to Arizona in overtime. Now, this is the second part of our doubleheader. Louisville lost to Stanford in the Elite 8. South Carolina in the Final 4. And then the championship game, Arizona lost to them. Shervin with her first shot with a miss. How about Stanford winning a national championship by a grand total of 3 points last year? Gosh, what a tournament it was. I'm here with the miss. Cardozo there to follow up and gets fouled. So South Carolina, the #1 team in the country. And Charlie Cream, never too soon for bracketology. South Carolina projected as a 1 pick. These are the 4 teams that are here. Louisville is a 2, Arizona is a 5. I think that's going to change. And yes, he's got the Coyotes in again.
I would have the Coyotes in.
Yep.
I just can't say enough about these 4 teams coming here and competing. And we asked Don Staley, because most teams will not play South Dakota. Most Power 5s won't. And Don said, hey, it's good competition for us. It's a great environment. They enjoyed the experience a year ago in the middle of a pandemic. And so I'm just excited that we get we have 2 quality opponents going at it here this evening.
Yes, there were no fans last year. Coach Staley gave the folks credit here for keeping things safe. Oh my, an injury. That is Raven Johnson clutching her left leg. Coach Staley comes out to take a look at the freshman, a consensus All-American, was a national to Naismith in the WBCA, part of this #1 recruiting class. South Carolina out to this 10-0 lead, but obviously the concern for Raven Johnson.
Honestly, I was blocked by Destiny Henderson from seeing exactly how she went down. Just like the knee buckled hard.
Well, it's tough to tell from that angle. And there's another one that's number 25 on the right. Just she tripped. Oh, there you go. And there you see the twist as she went down. Don Staley and the athletic trainer there along with Jolette Law, and as Johnson is helped off the floor. We will take a break and come right back to Sioux Falls.
We really need internet all over the house.
Introducing Whole Home Wi-Fi from Verizon Fios, so you can get coverage in hard-to-reach places.
And the internet works wherever we need it.
Plus, you'll get $400 when you mix and match our best TV and internet plans, only from Verizon.
Being a New York One reporter for nearly 2 decades has had such an impact on me. Now I'm here telling the stories of New Yorkers from the anchor desk. News all day, weekdays, starting at noon. Only on New York One, exclusively on Spectrum.
Welcome back to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Raven Johnson helped off the floor. There's Don Staley and Jolette Law, terrific assistant. Screen right. And Bree Beal has checked in for Johnson. We'll get you an update if we can. She was helped off to the side of the floor, going on to her knee. We talk about how important assistants are. Jolette Law now in her 5th season. Lisa Boyer, Fred Schmiel also on that staff for South Carolina.
Pam, again, another staff with longevity. It just makes the biggest difference in the world, especially during a summer where Don is the Olympic coach.
Right. And he here takes steps. Crowd being really into it. Their team is down 10-0. Great fans in South Dakota. This is not on campus again. It's about 50 miles from campus. Technically a neutral site, but they love their basketball.
Honestly, with the style of play of the Coyotes, how successful they've been, fans are crazy not to support this team.
Whistle and a foul drawn by Corn Gable. This college basketball doubleheader coming for you on Sunday afternoon. We just talked about Stanford. There's your defending champs taking on Texas Sunday at 3 Eastern on ESPN. Then follow that up with Ryan Howard and Kentucky playing Indiana. Good stuff, both games on ESPN and the ESPN app. We talked about it. Goodness, these great early season matchups. It's not even November 15th yet, right? Today's the 12th. Look at these games.
Well, today's like Christmas.
Yeah.
As far as quality opponents going at it. But I give Vic Schaefer credit. He's going to take a young team up to play the trees, and I mean that literally as well as figuratively. Again, you're talking about another team in Stanford that really is not losing much. Has most of the majority of their team coming back.
They did lose Keanu Williams, who was such an important component. Charlie Collier was the #1 overall pick that Texas lost, but Vic with a great recruiting class coming in. Corn Gable, I'll tell you what, she is a feisty little player from Rochester, Minnesota.
Well, when you're not as fast, you've got to use change of pace, and that is one thing the perimeter players of the Coyotes do extremely well, as we just saw in that play.
Henderson trying to get something going, and a foul called on her drive. Corn Gable last year in the loss to South Carolina. Let's take a look again.
Well, it starts with players getting on the floor, and then you just have Corn Gable just spin move, change of pace, change of direction, and knows what to do when she gets that deep in the paint.
Last year against South Carolina, 16.6 rebounds and 7 assists for Liv. Graduate in December. She's going to physical therapy, stay in athletics in some way. Yeah, we were at practice yesterday, and she's a feisty player.
I just have to say, you're not this successful unless you're tough and feisty.
Yeah. Even with her own teammates in practice, she was being a little chippy in a good way. And she has brought that this afternoon.
Winners create winners, and that's what I feel like with this veteran team. They're not only out here to win this year, but they're out here to continue the legacy of the Coyotes and the success that they've had.
Chloe Lamb, another part of the big three, along with Shervin and Corn Gable, the redshirt senior from Oneida, South Dakota, was the MVP of the Summit Tournament last year. Coyotes have won back-to-back Summit tournaments. Just 2 years ago, there was no NCAA tournament, so did not technically get into the tournament, but they would have as the tournament champs. Nice dish. Saxton delivers.
Great unselfish play by Russell for the dump off for the two by Saxton.
Gable not afraid to shoot. Good box out. Cardozo getting it up to Henderson.
And you saw only one Coyote go to the glass there. That's how much respect they have for South Carolina's transition game. But Saxton sprints the floor to get that easy two.
Another assist for Henderson, and that's something that Coach Putzawhite talked about. Send as many people back to try to stop South Carolina. Corn Gable isn't afraid of Cardozo. How about that?
Well, again, it's knowing with the head fake, South Carolina's going to go for those blocks. They are leading traditionally one of the top shot blocking teams in the country. So she's patient, she's deliberate, and she gets the shot to go.
South Carolina was second in the country in block shots, and that was without Cardozo on the roster.
Well, Anaya Russell puts it on the floor. Nice little drop pass down to Saxton for the 2. And then we have to say it again. Corin Gable, without even seeing the basket, I don't think, because of the shadow of Cardozo, drops it in.
Mila led the ACC in blocks last year, just under 3 per game when she was with Syracuse, was the freshman of the year, gets another rebound. 6'7", and man, she looks like she might be taller.
I mean, I give Corin Gable credit because she even challenged her.
The band trying to make it sound like the shot clock was winding down when it wasn't.
Everybody's a part of the team.
And Gable brings it up, gets some words from Coach Plitzewhite, who was in the national championship as a head coach at Grand Valley in Michigan.
I mean, everywhere she's gone, she's won.
She's won, yeah. Including Vermillion, South Dakota. Waning seconds of the first quarter and a whistle. Cardozo has picked up a couple of fouls here in the first quarter. And that means Aaliyah Boston's going to come in with just under 7 seconds left to go, so she doesn't pick up number 3.
So your 6'7" player gets their second foul, so you bring in your All-American.
Yeah.
Off the bench.
Poor Dawn Staley. Corin Gable now at the free throw line. Gable also known putting in a lot of work. She's one of those kids that will stay after practice, get extra shots in. Really shining now. First 3 years coming in off the bench, stuck it out and has become a major component for this team.
Well, greatness doesn't happen accidentally. You got to put the sweat and the effort in, and that's what Corin Gable has done.
Corin Gable going to get some extra rest as she sits down for the last 6 seconds of the quarter. Zaya Cook. Gosh, and a foul was called on that play. Wow. Cook with the spinning move to the basket. And now the officials, are going to check to see if the foul occurred before the end of the quarter. Plitzewhite showing some of that fire with her team. Maddie Kroll, number 42, playing defense.
When I believe, Pam, the new rule is such that it's not when the foul occurs, it is when the officials make the call.
Yeah. I know South Dakota fans are looking at this and saying, one foul, but a foul was called.
Well, the 3,000 officials in the stands don't believe there was a foul.
That's Mike McConnell, joined by Natasha Kamey and Lisa Jones this evening.
So they are saying a foul with 0.5 of a second left in the quarter.
So Cook heads to the free throw line. Coming off a nice 17-point game in the win against NC State to open the season.
Cook's just a tough matchup because you give her space, she's going to knock it down from 3. If you crowd her, she's so quick and explosive and has great handles to create off the bounce.
Very good free throw shooter as well. So a tough call as Kroll was whistled for the personal foul with a half a second left to go in the quarter. And it cost him 2 points. Well, you knew she was going to take a shot. Put Corin Gable back in, and she hoisted back up. Dawn State, the number 1 team in the country, with a 10-point lead over South Dakota after 1. We are back in South Dakota. That's a look on the left. That's Jay Plitzaway, the husband of Dawn, the head coach for South Dakota, and AJ in the hoodie, who's a really good basketball player. In fact, plays for the Coyotes men's team, but unfortunately had a really bad knee injury playing last February and is sitting out this year. And we talked to Coach P yesterday. Boy, the pride that she has in her kid's daughter, Lexi, not here because she's playing in a basketball game right now.
Well, Lexi, I know it's only because you're getting a W tonight that you're not here to support your mom.
Yes. It's a great basketball family. Dawn puts away again in her 6th year. 3 of the first 5, she was the Summit League Coach of the Year. She's done a terrific job. Pam Ward, Christy Thomascutti joining you. Corn Gable continues. Boy, the confidence, the fluidity out there. And especially since Hannah Shervin, their star, she did 2 fouls, hardly played in that first quarter.
And I thought that was a big key for the Coyotes to get a victory today. She had to be able to stay on the floor as Boston just, easily steps out and knocks down that long 2. But there's even more pressure on the perimeter players for the Coyotes because Morgan Hansen is also out with an injury for the Coyotes. So they're not a very big team to battle South Carolina here this evening.
Hansen typically was the first off the bench last year. She is out now with a stress fracture for about a month and will be a really good coach someday.
Absolutely. And for South Dakota, you've got to be able to stretch South Carolina out using their 5-out motion, and that's one thing Hansen could do. But without the bigs, Corn Gable can just put it on the floor again. Hesitation and a beautiful pull-up jumper.
Corn Gable has 8 of their 9 points. She's the only one who has made a field goal, 3 of 6. The rest of the team 0 for 9 from the floor. Here she is again. Off the rim.
You expected her to make that one.
I was getting ready for the call. She did it again. That's a travel. The fans here in unison.
Again, the 3,000 fans were on top of that one. Or 3,000 officials. That's one area when I asked Dawn Staley about, hey, what's the areas for your team to take the next step? She says, we've got to convert layups. Yeah. And at times, she said, Zaya Cook and Destiny Henderson over-penetrate. And that was one of those examples by Zaya Cook. But I also say as a coach, you'll take those kind of turnovers because you want your team to play aggressively. You want them pushing in transition the way South Carolina does.
Rebound taken down. The Coyotes, a foul has been called.
Well, the officials called that on Lamb on the box out. Pam, I didn't see it.
And now another foul on Lamb. Allison Kotwoski coming in to Lamb, who sits down. Pardon me, not for Lamb. Lamb's still out there. Sherman continues to sit on the bench with her 2 personals. Leading his team in scoring and rebounding last year, averaged almost a double-double. And here lost it out of bounds, but last touched by South Dakota. College basketball coming your way later tonight. There's Hannah Shervin. As number 4 Villanova, this is men's basketball, takes on number 2 UCLA. Top 5 West Coast prime time for those out on the West Coast. 11:30 Eastern, 8:30 Pacific on ESPN2 and the app. That is 10:30 South Dakota time here in the Central Time Zone. Lamb draws contact, nothing called there. Taken down by Cook, always looking up court. Henderson left open for three and nailed it.
Well, that starts with Zaya Cook's ability to get 2 feet in the paint, pull the help side defender. Great job by Henderson to spot up.
Henderson, such an important part of this South Carolina offense.
Well, I don't think you can play at South Carolina and not be a great point guard.
Well, they're being taught by the best. Don Staley, one of the greatest of all times. Meanwhile, Corngable continues to be the only Coyote who has hit a field goal.
And if you're a Coyote fan, you were down more than 20 a year ago, and you battled back to make it a game in the second half. I think the key for the Coyotes is, can they hang in there until the second half to get Shervin back on the floor?
Henderson skipping it to the other side for Cook, who hit the three.
Well, these threes are happening because of the dribble penetration, which is forcing the rotation from a weak side, which has left Henderson open.
And finally, somebody not named Corngable has hit a field goal. That's Grace Larkins, a freshman from Altoona, Iowa, who Coach Plitzelwhite thinks is going to be really good.
I mean, think about it. As a freshman, Grace Larkins has now played Oklahoma, now playing the #1 team at South Carolina, and there's many more quality opponents coming up.
South Carolina relying now on some long-range shots.
Yeah, I like the open looks when it comes off of dribble penetration kickouts, because that allows the shooters to be set. This time it was Henderson kicking to Zaya Cook for the three.
It's extended the lead out to 12 points. Cook that time hit the deck. Henderson this time guarded well on the perimeter. Outside shot missed, but a second chance thanks to Saxton.
I love Victoria Saxton. This is a young lady that just goes to work night in and night out, rebounds, will take the shots when she has them, but she's going to do whatever's needed for this team to be successful.
One of the captains on this team, along with Boston. Shot clock's going to die. Henderson was not aware.
And that's what teammates on the bench have to help her out. Again, I know they're on the far end, but that's what they've got to be counting down loud so the players on the floor know.
Heading towards 5 minutes to go in the half. Corngable this time defended well. Lamb has it tick off the rim. Ball goes back over to South Carolina. Timeout. #1 team in the country up a dozen. 2017, it was an all-SEC championship game. The University of South Carolina with the one and only Asia Wilson, the hometown kid, leading the way to their first national championship, taking it in convincing fashion. Got out to a quick lead, big lead, and held on to win it all. Dawn Staley got herself a national championship. Can she repeat? They are the favorite to do so. Again, the heartbreaking loss in the Final Four last year to Stanford. They are the #1 team in the country right now.
I always say, you got to stay hungry, you got to stay healthy. And one thing about South Carolina, as we keep talking about, they are deep. They've got multiple players who can contribute from multiple positions. And I think they're hungry. I think it'll catapult them, the setback, the loss, the heartbreaking loss to Stanford a year ago.
Take a look at the top 10 right now, and yes, that basket counted for Littleton, but then there was a foul away from the ball on South Carolina. Stanford going to host Texas on ESPN on Sunday. University of Maryland, big things expected of them. We saw Louisville lose in overtime to Arizona right here on this court tonight. Baylor, how will they do? Corngable, come on. Baylor with a new head coach and Nikki Collin now that Kim Mulkey has gone to LSU. Henderson looking good.
You say looking good. I'm saying she's on fire at the moment.
two Destinies, Henderson and Littleton.
So you're saying it's destiny for South Carolina to win it this year?
They've been hitting some threes. Me here, cross court.
That's your post player on the floor right now, who's taking it coast to coast off the bounce.
Such versatile player, starting to come into her own now in her third year. And she was fouled from behind by Ugofsky.
Well, you forget her freshman year, she was coming off that knee injury. And so you're seeing the explosiveness now. You're seeing the confidence now from this young lady. Even from as a freshman, I thought this young lady had so much upside, and we're really seeing that blossom already in the season.
She's played on the Canadian Olympic team. She was from Mississauga, right outside of Toronto. Rimming out for the other Destiny, Littleton.
So important for the Coyotes, whether it's out of their motion or out of their sets. Can they get that step, get 2 feet in the paint, one to attack rim or to pull weak side defense?
Well, Larkins had a pretty good look, but that wouldn't go down. Zaya Cook, count it. And she went to the basket, again by Ugofsky. 2 quick ones on Janiyah.
Well, this is with 3 Coyotes back in transition defense. Zaya Cook just attacks, splits the defenders, draws the contact, and still able to finish.
Look into double figures. She's got 10. Destiny Henderson 9 to lead the way for the Gamecocks, who led this game 10-0. Look back, Corn Gable with 12 of the 15 for South Dakota, who have been playing most of this game with Hannah Shervin, their leading scorer, on the bench. There you go again.
Well, Liv Corn Gable loves playing on this basket. Again, takes it off the bounce, has the direct line to the rim, draws the contact, and kisses it off the glass.
It's been the Liv Corn Gable show. Had 22 in the game to open the season against Oklahoma. She's already got 15 in this first half.
And you see South Dakota playing off Bree Bill, almost daring her to shoot it.
Corn Gable forces the turnover. Oh my! Liv Corn Gable is unstoppable for the Coyotes.
And Don Staley immediately tells Anaya Russell to get off the bench and go in for some defense.
18 of their 21 points from Corn Gable after the 3. Beal, not much arc on that shot. Ami here called for a foul.
Well, you come back for that 5th year for games like this. Corn Gable doing it on defense, gets the deflection, sprints to the weak side for a spot up. Grace Larkin finds her senior for the 3.
Corn Gable really picking things up again in the absence of Shervin, who has been out with the 2 fouls. Yes! Lamb with her first points of the game.
And South Dakota has gone to a triangle and 2 defensively.
It's a 9-0 run, and there's a travel. The fans are into it here in Sioux Falls. Trying to claw their way back into this and get Shervin back on the floor in the second half. Another one, short. quickly goes to the other side of the basket.
You say quickly, I say explosively.
How about that? That quiets the crowd for a minute, stops the run. A minute left to go now in the half.
Well, Big Mo was all in South Dakota's favor, and then Victoria Saxton says, hang on a second, just explosively attacks the basket.
Saxton just a couple of points in that win against NC State. Already with 6 here in this game, and Korngable proves she's human by missing a free throw. I had my doubts after her start here today.
Well, free throws hurt them a year ago. If they could have converted some free throws, they may have had a different result. Tonight already, not showing prowess at the free throw line just yet.
Korngable just 4 of 7. Sherman missed some free throws that would have been a difference maker in that Oklahoma season opener. Just the little things like that. Saxton was anticipating that, and then a travel on the other side by Hall. One of the many freshmen for Dawn Staley.
Well, I asked Dawn Staley, was there anything that surprised you in that NC State game? And she said, yeah, our freshmen have been playing so well that I was surprised that they didn't play well in the game. And it's always different when the bright lights come on. And so I think you're seeing her here yet again today, trying to get them more minutes, get them comfortable.
Saxton just blocked Korngable. Shot clock is off. Henderson with the ball in her hands. Left wide open for the 3 in the corner. We just talked about the freshman Hall. She knocks it down to end the half. And South Carolina takes a 15-point lead into the locker room. Zia Cook leading the way with 10. Korngable with 18 for the Coyotes, trying to stick with the #1 team in the country. Welcome back to the Mammoth Sports Construction Invitational. It is nighttime here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Yep, the wind is still blowing, and the Coyotes are down to the #1 team, 39-24 after one half of play. Earlier today, Louisville was upset by Arizona in overtime, so it's already been a great night. Pam Ward along with Christy Thomas-Gutty. You look at the score, it's a 15-point advantage for South Carolina, but you have to keep in mind that Hannah Sherman only played about 5 minutes in that first quarter because of foul trouble. They're still in this game.
Well, and the only real scorer for the Coyotes has been Liv Korngable. So she has carried this team, kept it close, eager to see the adjustments offensively, especially for the Coyotes here in the second half.
Liv Korngable hit 7 of her 12 shots. The rest of her teammates have combined 2 of 17, just 12%. And meanwhile, South Carolina got out to that 10-0 lead, but since then, even without Sherman on the floor, you got to be impressed. And we usually are with what South Dakota does every year under Dawn Plitzowite. And this is a team that's never going to give up.
Absolutely. A team that can make great runs, as we saw in the first half. For South Carolina, though, they were on fire from 3, 5 of 7 in the second quarter, which they needed. It came off a dribble penetration, pulling the weak side defenders. Teammates spotted up. Zia Cook, Destiny Henderson, Destiny Lilton all knocked it down from deep. But then for the Coyotes, they were all about Liv Korngable. All her points came from 2. That's how impressive she was. She did it undersized. She did it with change of speed. She did it with sheer will, putting her head down to get yet another 2 points for her team.
South Dakota at one point down 10-0, but since about 3 minutes left to go in the first quarter, they've only been outscored by 5, in large part because of #2, Korngable. And you take a look at the three-pointers. South Carolina got a couple that you talked about, 3 of them by the Destinies, and South Dakota doing a great job of holding on to the basketball.
Well, and that was key, because not only does a turnover prevent you from scoring, but against South Carolina, it usually leads to 2 points for them. The thing that really impressed me was that they have taken care of the ball. They've also not given up a lot of shot blocks, because that's another way that South Carolina gets out in transition. A big key is, can they score on the offensive end? Because they've got to be able to get back and get set up. We saw a lot of triangle and 2 from the Coyotes late in that second quarter, which really stymied South Carolina, except for the threes. I'm eager to see what the Coyotes do here to start the third.
And then the Coyotes are starting Hannah Shervin, number 34, again, their leading scorer last year. She, 2-time All-First Team Summit League player. She is on the Naismith National Player of the Year list. And she's going for her second master's degree as well. Other than that, Hannah Shervin, what have you done for me today? But, I mean, this is good news for them. They're going to come in. She did not play more than 5.5 minutes because of the 2 fouls. And they almost held serve with her out.
Absolutely. I think any team's kind of happy when you're still in striking distance of South Carolina. You did it without Shervin. You also did it without Chloe Lamb really having an offensive impact in the first half.
Chloe Lamb only 4 points, 1 of 6 from the floor. The big three, Shervin, Lamb, and Korngable, are the trio that combined for 58 of their 71 points in their opening night loss to Oklahoma. Henderson with the miss.
Bree Bill got away with an over the back of Victoria Sexton. She just took it away from her own teammate.
And Leah Boston only played 5.5 minutes before she got a couple of fouls for South Carolina. Rimming out. Rebound taken down by Maddie Krull, who did average 9 points a game last year for this NCAA tournament team. Lost to Oregon in the first round. And look at, I thought she was going to bring it up. Boston was going to point guard us.
You're just getting greedy now, Pam Ward.
And now she's hanging out the 3-point line. Come on now. That's a long 2. Nice work.
2 possessions for South Carolina, 2 offensive rebounds for Bree Bill.
6'1" junior. A great recruiting class. A couple of years ago, #1 class now. This freshman class for Dawn Staley. And then the block for Beal. Just so much talent on this South Carolina team. And that's been the question, is how will Dawn Staley manage the minutes? Right now you're trying to find combinations early in the season. But this is a South Carolina team that brought back all 5 starters, 98% of their scoring, 95% of their rebounding, and then they added this ridiculous freshman class.
I know there's a lot of coaches who would switch places with Dawn Staley in a hurry.
They're not shedding any tears, right? Or no, for Dawn.
But I do believe Dawn Staley handles it the right way. She's very honest, direct with her players. I mean, this #1 freshman class knew what they were getting into when they came. And you come to play for Dawn Staley because you're going to get better. You're going to be able to challenge and compete potentially for a national championship year in and year out.
Boston with the emphatic block. We want to update you on Raven Johnson, who played about a minute and then went out, hurt her knee. There you see she's got a brace on that left leg. We don't have any specifics on the injury, only that she will not return. This is a terrific freshman, part of that #1 class. She was the National High School Player of the Year, according to several news services, and Raven is not going to return tonight.
Korngable got called for a carry, which is why the Gamecocks have the ball again.
Boston handled by Shervin, who did not score that first half, picking up the fouls, only took 1 shot. Boston. Beal, goodness. What's that? 3 offensive rebounds for her just in the first couple of minutes of this quarter.
Bree Bill is a beast on the offensive glass right now, and that's what Dawn Staley says. She's our glue. She does so many things. While people are focused on points, Bree Bill's going to do everything else, and right now she's getting points because of her effort on the glass.
5 boards. Hit the offensive glass particularly hard. Shervin This time it was her turn to be blocked by Boston.
Well, Bree Bill's on the floor because she makes things happen, whether it's extending plays or grabbing those offensive rebounds. That time is able to pay it off with her own two, and I loved it because she knew she couldn't go up with two, so she tips it to herself so she can bring it down and then kisses it off the glass.
Saxton, good defense. Holy smokes. Then she tried to pass it out with the turnover and gets another rebound. South Carolina trying to go in 2-0, excuse me, after the impressive win over NC State to open the season. Beal just one-handed that. And then is called for the offensive foul.
You know what, Bree Bill, I'll take it because you're being physical, you're trying to power it up. Official just thought that she pushed off for that arm to create the space to try to go up.
That was impressive, that one-handed grab. And Boston, such a presence on the defensive end. Shervin gets her first points.
And I love that Shervin, not having scored, didn't rush that. She knew that she had a good look, just calm and collected and knocked it down.
Fifth-year senior out of Rogers, Minnesota. Henderson drew the defense. Left Cook open and another hunt for Beal.
I don't know what Don Stanley said at halftime, but Bree Bill's been all over the glass.
Yeah, just this first 4 minutes of this third quarter for Beal. Henderson off balance. Rebound tipped out. It's taken by Korngable. Here she comes. She had 18 in the first half. Dribbles away from Boston, who was able to recover and then block her shot. And this is where South Carolina is really dangerous in transition. Beal, are you kidding me? Another offensive rebound. They call her for the travel. But Bree Beal has been the offensive rebounding machine here. Women's college basketball doubleheader coming your way Sunday. Check this out. The defending champs taking on Texas, 3 Eastern time on ESPN. And then follow that with Kentucky and Indiana. The one and only Ryan Howard leading the Wildcats. Gail Gestencourt, assistant coach for that team. Both games are on ESPN and the app. One app, one tap.
Ooh.
A little love for our former comrade at ESPN getting back into coaching.
The game needs Gail Gestencourt.
Yep.
She's that good.
One of Coach Elzey's assistants this year. Nice pass to the bucket by Chloe Lamb.
And I love that because in the first 5 minutes of this half, South Carolina has already 5 blocks. And yet Lamb wasn't deterred. She still took it in strong.
So 5 blocks in this quarter for South Carolina as a team.
5 blocks in 5 minutes. Pam, I didn't have 5 blocks my entire career.
Yes, that is a 40-block pace. That would be a record or something. Lamb, this time over Beal.
Pam, we watched practice yesterday. These shots aren't happenstance. It's not accidental. The fundamentals that are taught and expected at South Dakota is remarkable. They got 12 different ways to finish a layup.
Yeah, it was impressive to watch them, wasn't it? Cardozo just drew 3 defenders, so Henderson says, I'll throw up the 3 myself. Point guard from Fort Myers, known as Denny, to her teammates. Korngable looking for her first points of the quarter after hitting 18 in the first half. It's been the Lamb show here in the third quarter. Shervin, nice, and then follows with the left hand.
This team knows angles so well. They know how to use their body to get shots off against the much taller South Carolina. But you know what? It doesn't matter when Henny can knock it down from deep.
Yeah, that's the second straight time that the triple came over to Cardozo, and then they paid after Henderson hit from the outside. Shervin from 3, just a little bit short. But the ball is collected by Larkins, the freshman.
Larkin's going to be special. fearless, fundamental, can score.
Sure been good work, but Henderson was able to take it away from Lamb. Henderson, a little hesitation, and now gathers. The other Destiny, Littleton. Sofsky got over there. Bugovsky, for the defensive pressure. Corngable, that was a NBA 3. Might be a little winded as we finally get a whistle, and Destiny Henderson putting on a show.
Well, she's used to going north to south and scoring in transition. Tonight, she's like, hey, I'm on fire. I'm just going to spot it from 3. 4 of 5 from deep on the game.
People often look at me and think I'm a fireman because of my bravery and my knowledge of the color red. So when they came to me and said, Chief, tell them about the American Rescue Plan, I jumped down a fire pole and I got to work. Boom, boom, boom. Ma'am, do you have any kids at home? Oh, yes, I do, handsome fireman. Let's keep this professional. But what if I could put out some of your financial fires? Up to $300 per month per child. It could rescue you. Who took my Dalmatian?
1, 2, 3. People say that we don't know what love is or how to make it grow. All right, everybody, stand up straight.
Okay, now let me flip it.
Oh, baby. I got you, baby. I got you, baby.
Dawn Staley won a national championship in 2017. Got a piece of a net from Carolyn Peck when she won, and she's paying it forward.
I love this. I love Dawn. This is what I've been waiting for. Oh, this is so awesome. Dawn, I love you. You're the best. You're a great friend, and thank you. This is something I'm going to cherish. And hopefully I'll be doing this one day.
Dawn Staley cutting up portions of the net from when they won the national championship in 2017 and sending out pieces to the head coaches in the United States and college programs, women of color, including Adia Barnes, who almost won a national championship last year. And that is the slogan this year, net worth, trying to cut down the nets again. And again, starting with our colleague Carolyn Peck, who gave the piece of the net when Purdue won it all in 1999. And Dawn carried that around with her, and it's just terrific that she is spreading that to the other coaches out there.
Absolutely. Our game only gets better when coaches support coaches, and hats off to Dawn Staley, because it wasn't enough about her winning. It was about how do I help fellow coaches do the same thing. That's what she wants to see. Maybe not against her, but she wants to see fellow female coaches win a national championship. And honestly, it was Monday morning where I saw a clip of Johnny Harris from Auburn. They posted a picture. So I thought, honestly, initially I thought it was just the SEC, women of color coaches. And then throughout the next 3 days, I saw everyone. And it's a true testament to Dawn's investment in the game of women's basketball.
Yeah, Dawn says she sent out, I believe she's at 74 right now. And then she said she got a message from a junior college coach. And she's like, okay, I'll send out some more. Just a great gesture, and it's you gotta love it. Once you get there, don't pull the ladder up after you. Help others up, and Dawn Staley embodies that.
Well, Pat Summitt did it for years.
Yep.
And we know the impact Pat had on Dawn. And so I love that Dawn's now carrying that kind of legacy forward.
Boston able to get the bucket and draw the foul. Dawn Staley recently signed a 7-year extension to stay at South Carolina, where she's going to make about $22.5 million over the next 7 years. Well deserved, right up there with Gino as far as earning it. And what she's done at South Carolina is unbelievable, because before she was there, to say that program was dormant might be an overstatement. It's amazing what she has done. They have almost 10,000 season ticket holders.
Well, that's the piece. It's an investment. Like college athletics, unfortunately, it's a business. And so hats off to the administration, because you're going to get this return on investment because of the fans, because of the season tickets. That arena is packed every time they play. And so you want to keep Dawn Staley as your head coach. You don't want her to even think about leaving.
Yeah, boy, and they love her down there. I just saw that as Aaliyah Boston came over and induced the tie-up, and Dawn came up and came over and gave her talented junior a little five, a little slap on the palm for that great work.
Well, she rewards effort. And that's the thing about Aaliyah Boston. Didn't score a lot against NC State, but still was a defensive presence. And speaking of defensive presence, drawing the charge.
That's Chloe Lamb run into by Russell.
Well, the key for the Coyotes was to keep South Carolina out of the lane off dribble penetration. There, Chloe Lamb moves her feet and draws the charge from Russell.
Point advantage for South Carolina, trying to go to 2-0 on the season. Lamb quickly out of the double team, but boy, Shervin and Boston and Cardozo playing together right now.
Just not fair. But one thing I see for South Dakota is because of the speed, the closeout speed of South Carolina, South Dakota has to be able to see the next pass before the ball hits their hands. And right now, they're a half second slow, so nothing is opening up for them.
Shervin again, trying to force things. It's two of the best shot blockers in the country, not only on the same team, but playing on the floor at the same time. Cardozo over to Boston.
Beautiful post-to-post action.
Cardozo coming over from Syracuse, where she was the ACC Freshman of the Year last year. Chloe Lamb doing most of the offensive work in the third quarter for the Coyotes. About 5 seconds difference between the two clocks. Cardozo guarded by Shervin, who sticking with the 2 fouls that she picked up in the first quarter. That could be number 3.
We've talked about the transition game of South Carolina, but when Cardozo catches the ball low, she almost pulls a double team, which allows Boston to rim run on the weak side. Easy, beautiful layup.
That was Shervin's third foul. She is staying out there with 17 seconds left to go in the quarter. As Cardozo heads to the free throw line, sophomore from Brazil. And she was recruited by Dawn Staley. Dawn said that when Camila came to campus on her visit, it was around Halloween time, and they did a little pumpkin carving with Camila. Not enough to get her to go to Columbia. Deferred that for a year, went to Syracuse, and now is playing with the Gamecocks, who were one of her finalists. Lamb has it ring out. Boston getting it over to Cook. South Carolina led by 15 at the half, and they have extended that out, leading 55-34 after 3 quarters of play in Sioux Falls. North of the campus of South Dakota in Vermillion, and boy, this South Dakota team back-to-back titles in the Summit League tournament. You see they've won 4 of the last 7 regular seasons, just 4 losses in the last 4 years in their league, 3 of them to their arch rivals, the Jackrabbits of South Dakota State. And it's Dawn Plitzwhite. Come on now, what a job she has done.
Anywhere Dawn Plitzwhite has been, she has won. And again, after watching practice, it's not accidental. Great teacher of the game. She breaks the game down, fundamentally sound, and her players love her. I had the opportunity to sit down with Morgan Hansen yesterday. I said, how would you describe your coach? Loving, smart, would run through a wall for her. I mean, she just kept going on until she had to go get in a huddle. But I think we might still be there because she only had great things to say about her head coach.
And there is Morgan Hansen out with a stress fracture, but you had a great conversation with her during practice.
Well, for me, I always like to know what the game plan is, and I missed some of it. And Morgan Hansen, for a young lady who was injured, was beyond impressed because she knew every detail of the scout and taught me some things. So, hey, future ADs out there, keep your eye on Morgan Hansen. Definitely a coach you want to hire.
Yeah, pardon me, redshirt freshman from right here in Sioux Falls, who is out with a stress fracture, but very engaged and told you she'd like to be a coach herself someday. And you think she's already passed a test?
Well, I think, first of all, for a young post player to know guard assignments as well as her own assignments, I was impressed with. But for an injured player, because a lot of times they check out, they're on the sideline rehabbing, she was dialed in.
Yep. So that'll be a plus. They hope to get her back certainly when the conference season starts. Mihir has it rim out. South Dakota, third straight year that they have been picked to win the Summit League. Lamb, wide right. Easy rebound for Cardozo. Oh, there's another play for Cardozo, who got it on the second chance.
And didn't have to jump. Like, just tipped it to herself.
I want to be 6'7" and athletic, huh?
I just want to be athletic, man.
Yeah, you take that. Shervin just a little bit too strong, and she's guarded out on the perimeter by Camila. Mihir. Nope, and again she doesn't have to jump.
But also smart. For just a sophomore, doesn't try to do too much, knows that she's taller, she tips it to herself so she can get it without going over the back.
So it's 59-34. South Carolina looking like the #1 team in the country, which they are.
This is the dimension of imagination.
B-Dubs taps a new keg every 35 seconds. For beer so fresh, it'll make you...
Are you crying?
Nope.
To the greatest of all times, Buffalo Wild Wings.
Welcome back to the Mammoth Sports Construction Invitational in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. #1 South Carolina, they're going to play some people, aren't they? They are the #1 team in the country, and yes, they have scheduled 2, 3, 4, and 5. They've already beaten NC State, Maryland, and Stanford coming up, and then the big match against UConn in January.
Yeah, I love the philosophy. If you want to be the best, you have to beat the best. And here's the bottom line. If I'm a head coach, I don't want to learn things about my team during the NCAA tournament. I want to know those things early, and so the only way to do that is to challenge yourself with tough scheduling, and Dawn does that year in and year out. Both Dawns do that, yes. Frankly.
Yeah, Plitzowite for South Dakota, and South Dakota has trouble finding people who want to come play them, or play them, period, and frankly, I don't blame them. Because they seem to get, between South Dakota State, you got North Dakota State, you can throw that in, not just in women's basketball, but they always seem to come up with upsets every year.
Well, Don Plitzowite said to us yesterday, I'm really hoping that teams will overlook us. And I just interrupted her and I said, I'm sorry, Coach, that's not going to happen. Not anymore. But your team is too good and it's done too well on the national stage.
Yeah, the secret is certainly a secret no more. Mihir, gosh, gets that basket.
Mihir is here to stay, so yes. We'll get it down. Littleton is playing as well as I've seen her throughout her career. She looks to be in the best shape. Yeah. She's quick off the bounce. So much known as that outside scoring threat for them, now can do it all.
National Player of the Year on the men's side, Drew Timme, and #1 recruit in the nation, Chet Holmgren, leading the Zags in a matchup against Texas. That's a top 5 matchup in men's basketball in Spokane. That's tonight, 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific on ESPN2 and the app. Not too far away. Terrific matchups in this very first week of college basketball, both on the men's and the women's side. Earlier today in this building, Arizona upset number 6 Louisville in overtime. A lot of new pieces. Adia Barnes and Jeff Walls both trying to figure some things out with superstars moving on to the pros after last year.
Well, I think for both those ball clubs, both their fans, don't worry about what today looked like because those teams are only going to get better.
Yeah, speaking of March. And we asked Dawn Staley why, this is the third year in a row that they've played South Dakota, and she's talked about that, wanting to play teams that play different styles, and South Dakota is either a 1-in, 4-out or a 5-out team, and they want to be able to see all these different things before they get out of the SEC, before they get to the one-and-done matchups in the NCAA tournament.
Well, I love the fact, and this is probably the greatest compliment to South Dakota, is that Dawn Staley said we had to prep for it before this week, and that's a true compliment.
Don Plitzowite said the same thing about South Carolina. That's a 3 buried by Bree Hall, another one of the McDonald All-American freshmen on this team.
Well, South Dakota had their practice guys yesterday, and I said to you, Pam, I said their practice guys are not as quick as South Carolina's guards. And so it's one thing to prep for South Carolina, it's another thing to see it live.
Shervin fouled. She was boxing out Cardozo. Cardozo goes out. Now Dawn Staley starting to go to her bench.
I think they got Bree Hall on the box out of Shervin. And Shervin was basically sandwiched between two Gamecocks.
Asa Weselick, number 32, a senior from Charleston, South Carolina, has checked in for the Gamecocks. Now another whistle, but Weselick, who just came in. There's Anaya Russell, a sophomore from Baltimore, Maryland. Dawn Staley able to get her reserves some minutes in this game.
I've watched a lot of film on South Dakota, and the out-of-bounds play, they usually bring Lamb in and she wraps against layups, and South Carolina has made that play non-existent tonight through their scout.
You see South Dakota just 1 of 13 from 3, and that was something that they certainly would need some help from the outside. That's not happened tonight, getting badly out-rebounded, and there's a foul on Hall.
Well, Pam, you said earlier there's no quit in the Coyotes. Here, Lamb on the closeout gets beat, but stays with it and cuts off the lane to draw the charge.
Chloe from Oneida, South Dakota, was the MVP of the Summit Tournament last year. First team all-conference as well. Oh, boy, Corn Gable draws the foul.
Just tough young lady. Wanting to do whatever it takes to try to keep her team in this game. That time attacking the rim and drawing the foul.
The second one on Weselick sends Corn Gable to the free throw line. She has not scored in the second half after putting up 18 of their 24 points in the first half.
I have to believe she was addressed at halftime.
You think Dawn might have said, that number 2?
You might want to guard her.
Yeah, she's tough. She would go through probably several brick walls, no matter what the score is. I mean, this game, it's a 30-point game, and they're still playing as hard as if it was a one-possession game.
What's her practice habits? They were going through shooting drills, and it was game speed every opportunity, every time the ball touched her hands.
Rebound batted around. That's friendly fire. And we here running into her teammate Hall, who traveled. So this game will be continuing on the ESPN app. We're going to switch you over to a football game here on ESPN News because we're running a little long as our first game went into overtime. Dawn Staley's team in control, up 30.
This is the dimension of imagination.
Coming to work when it's quiet, it's easy to reflect. You have the chance to see the city come alive in an instant.
Being a part of people's morning routine, it's special.
Mornings on 1, weekdays 6 to 9, exclusively on Spectrum.
Welcome back to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. The Coyotes of the University of South Dakota trailing the number 1 team by 30. Just under 5 minutes left to go in this game. Pam Ward and Christy Thomascutti joining you on this cold, snowy, windy evening in basketball crazy South Dakota.
Love it. The basketball loving part of it of South Dakota.
Yeah.
Not so much that cold snow part.
Yeah, thank goodness we have an indoor heated gym. Lamb just missed. It would be fun. Just do a South Dakota State, South Dakota game.
I've been thinking that all
How about that?
night long.
Let's do it. Even if it's just the two of us talking to ourselves.
Well, I think there'll be 3,000 plus fans with us.
Wow, Corn Gable continues. It's her second straight 20-point game. Remember, she had 22 in the season opening loss to Oklahoma. She is now 2 away from matching her career high. Second straight 22-point game for Liv. Littleton, that's a long three. Dawn Staley going out exclusively with bench players. South Dakota, that's no slouch either, isn't it? The heartbreaking loss to Oklahoma, tied late. Then Maddie Williams hit the game-winning shot, and you see some Power Fives in there.
Again, this is what I love. This team's going to be ready for Summit play. And if she can't get mid-majors to play her because she's too good, then yes, play the Power Fives because it only helps their net.
Yep.
Come tournament selection time.
Joe McEwen's Northwestern team, Gary Blair in his final season as a head coach of Texas A&M and Pitt, getting better. Lance White, his program. Westlack, good defense by Shervin, but
Sanaya Fagan just very patient, got her feet under her and took it up strong.
Fagan, another consensus All-American freshman on this team. I mean, it's just kind of like same resume, different players on this team for Dawn Staley.
You know, it's almost like throwback
to
where you're a young player used to be. You'd come in and you may not play a lot, but you got better and you got better. And when your seniors left, it was your opportunity. And that's the part of it I love. I hope these players stay because the bottom line is you want to get better. And this is all part of Dawn Staley's net worth slogan. She wants her players to be the best they can be. She doesn't need them to be best at everything, but be the best in their role in terms of what they contribute to this team. And if that's the case, look out the rest of America because this team's going to be scary good.
If they aren't already. Shervin, 1 of 2 from the line. Shervin with the 2 early fouls kind of threw her off this evening. Just 5 points, 2 of 10 from the floor. But Anna Shervin, a very special player. Already has a master's degree in psychology, going for another one. Everybody's wondering why that wasn't a travel. That's a held ball. Possession arrow gives it to the Coyotes. 2 great Big Ten football games coming your way Saturday on ABC. Number 6 Michigan traveling to take on Penn State at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. And then it's Ohio State, number 4 team, taking on Purdue at the Shoe. Boilermakers coming off a big upset over Michigan State, so check it out this weekend.
Pam, I don't mean to correct you, but isn't it the Ohio State?
Well, some of us, I believe that's what they say.
That was a shout out to all my Ohio State
Okay, I'm
friends.
sure
That's all.
Ohio State. Leslick with the miss. Good hunt down by Fagan. As Olivia Thompson who missed. Oh, big collision. Sends Corngable to the floor. Corngable's one of those players. As South Dakota now is going to, looks like they're going to clear their bench. Corngable wearing the long sleeves, maybe to protect herself from all the floor burn she gets. She plays hard.
She does just kind of slide.
So Shervin goes out, gets a nice hand. Most of the fans have stuck around here, but a tough night for Hannah Shervin. Corngable now 1 point away from matching her career high. And she does. Oh, they're going to take her out. Come on, coach. Corngable, a lot of people giving her a standing ovation, and they should, because Liv Corngable, boy, especially in that first half, she kept them in this game, had 18 of their 24 first half points.
Just a competitor. I mean, that's really probably the best way and the biggest compliment I can give this young lady.
And played just as hard down 30 as she did when it was tied early.
Obviously not the night the Coyotes wanted, but still a lot of basketball to play for this team. And I just see this team growing and getting better and better. Because again, with a motion offense, it's all about chemistry. And why this is a veteran team, it's still different to go against others.
And you're not going to play anybody better than South Carolina.
Not that we've seen yet to this point early in the season.
Maybe just as good, or certainly somebody that could beat South Carolina, but this is the cream of the crop. They're not number one for nothing. Another bucket for Fagan. Give the assist to Russell.
Russell's had a couple of nice setups for her bigs tonight.
Crowland running the point now that Corngable is sitting down. Larkins, the freshman, also in there, along with Allison Piplowski, who played briefly in the first half. Just over 30 seconds left to go. South Carolina with a convincing win over the Coyotes. They're going to get on a charter jet and go home. And they go to the Bahamas next.
I think they're going to pack differently than they did for this trip.
I think they're going to shed some stuff. And if that isn't a big... You talk about opposites. You go from South Dakota to the Bahamas. Climate-wise, maybe as different as it gets.
Quality opponents in both locations, though.
Great fans, I'm sure the same. Seriously, these fans in South Dakota are terrific. And they have much to be proud of with these Coyotes, who fall to the best team in the country, 72-41. And the vast majority of the folks stayed to the final buzzer, and they're cheering for their team. And they're also really good basketball fans. I'm sure it's a treat for them to see South Carolina. They gave Dawn Staley a nice hand when she was introduced before the game. But boy, South Carolina's scary.
Absolutely. It's not like South Dakota played that badly this evening. They just ran up against a bigger, taller, faster, more explosive team that can beat you in a variety of ways. Unfortunately for the Coyotes, just not enough in the tank to upset the number one team in the country.
Coyotes almost doubled up on rebounding by South Carolina, led by Destiny Henderson's 15. Liv Corngable tying a career high with 24 points. For Christy Thomas-Gutty and our crew here in Sioux Falls, I'm Pam Ward.